All right, welcome back to WMAC now with your host, Rick Season. Welcome to the preview for the UFC 281 ladies bouts. We've got three ladies fights on this card, capped off by the co-main event, which will be the Strawweight Championship between champ Carla Esparza and the challenger Weili Zhang. Got another Strawweight bout on the early prelims and then a Flyweight bout on the prelims. I like all three of these fights. I think they have a lot to offer. Very exciting, especially, Strawweight Championship bouts, always fun and exciting times. And I like what the other fights have to offer as well. You've got some good grapplers, some good strikers, some fun, exciting, barrel forward fighters. A little bit of everything is going to go down most likely between these three ladies bouts. So let's go ahead and get into it. First up, we have a strawweight bout. Karolina-Kowalkiewicz taking on Silvana Gomez-Juarez. I'm going to go ahead and minimize myself for the rest of these. First up, let's see. You've got Kowalkiewicz coming in at 13-7, taking on Silvana Gomez-Juarez. La Malvada coming in at 11-4. Now, both ladies coming in off of recent wins. Kowalkiewicz defeated Felice Herrig via rear naked choke 4 months ago. Gomez-Juarez got her first UFC win also 4 months ago, taking out Liana via TKO. Both ladies were coming in off of some losses before that. They are the same age at 37. It's hard to imagine that with Gomez-Juarez that she's 37 because, we're just not that used to her yet. She's only been in the UFC for 3 fights now, but she definitely got into the big show late in her career. And for Kowalkiewicz, she's obviously on the way out pretty soon as well. Both ladies are the same height at 5 feet 3 inches, 160 centimeters. And looks like Kowalkiewicz has just a very slight reach advantage at 64 inches, 163 centimeters to 63 inches, 160 centimeters for Silvana Gomez-Juarez. So both ladies like to stand and trade. Gomez-Juarez, she packs some wallop in her punches. I mean, she has genuine, at least knockdown power, if not true knockout power in her hands. Kowalkiewicz, we've seen what she's like. She's a volume heavy striker who likes to just, drown fighters in her striking. When it comes to the ground, Kowalkiewicz is definitely more likely to take it to the ground than Juarez is. Especially, I think, if she feels herself losing or if she even just sees some opportunity there. I'll be honest, as a Kowalkiewicz fan, this is a worrisome fight for me because of, Juarez's power in her hands. Kowalkiewicz, ever since she, got knocked out by Jessica Andrade, she just hasn't quite been the same fighter. She was hesitant to get hit. She slowed down a lot. Now, I will say that she looked like a different person in her last fight. She showed some more courage that we hadn't seen from her in a while against Felice Herrig. And we saw her willingness to go to the ground more often, which we hadn't seen in quite a while from her. And I think a part of that had to do with, moving her training camp out of Poland and down to Florida with ATT. And that's where she's been for this camp as well. So that might work in her favor as well. For Gomez-Juarez, she's going to want to keep this fight on her feet. I mean, Kowalkiewicz isn't exactly the greatest ground technician, but Gomez-Juarez, she just has a really bad habit of getting submitted, particularly by armbar, which is where both of her UFC losses have come by, on the ground via armbar. I think Kowalkiewicz can win this fight. She has to weather early storm. She has to be very careful with her defense here, which, of course, she's not known for, but she's got to be very careful to not get tagged. And if I were her, I'd look to drag this fight into the deeper waters, take advantage of Juarez's mistakes, which she's very mistake prone, get her down to the ground and look for submissions. So I'm taking Kowalkiewicz here. But man, am I nervous as a Kowalkiewicz fan. Very nervous about this as a Kowalkiewicz fan. Then we move on to a flyweight bout. Erin Blanchfield taking on Molly McCann. I believe Blanchfield is ranked at the moment. Let me check real quick. Pull those rankings up real quick here. So Erin Blanchfield is ranked number 12. McCann is currently ranked number 15. So battle of, top 15 fighters here. This should be a good one. McCann's coming off of 2 very big knockout wins. Blanchfield has looked nigh unstoppable in the UFC. She has 1 loss to Tracy Cortez and that was back in Invicta and hasn't showed any signs of slowing down since then. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats on this one. So cold-blooded Blanchfield coming in at 9-1. Meatball Molly coming in at 13-4. Blanchfield riding a long winning streak. Most recently defeated Miranda Maverick 10 months ago, and then more recently J.J. Aldrich via submission 4 months ago. McCann riding a 3-fight winning streak over Jiyeon Kim via decision, a knockout over Luana Carolina. That's a knockout of the year contender. And then a TKO over Hannah Goldie about 2.5 months ago. Blanchfield is the younger fighter at 23-32 for McCann. So McCann's 9 years older. They are the same height, 5 feet 4 inches, 163 centimeters. Looks like Blanchfield's going to have a nice reach advantage here. 68 inches, 173 centimeters to 62 inches, 175 centimeters. So those are your stats on this one. I think the biggest advantage McCann is going to have in this bout is speed. Blanchfield's not very fast. She's not the fastest reactor, and that could really work in McCann's favor. That is, to me, would be the most worrisome thing for Erin Blanchfield. It would be the speed factor. McCann really likes to just pressure forward and just unload on strikes and try to overwhelm her opponent. And honestly, though, the weird thing is that's what she likes to do, but she actually does a lot of her best work off of her back foot. Like, that's when she is at her most technical, but she has just gotten into this habit lately of really driving forward, overwhelming her opponents with strikes. But here's the thing. The quality of opponent that tends to work on is a lower quality of opponent than what she'll be facing in Erin Blanchfield. And Erin Blanchfield, she's not facing a one-dimensional fighter who is not just slow and unathletic, but she's facing a fighter who is also not afraid to kind of just go forward and risk it for the biscuit. Blanchfield will barrel forward as well with her strikes. And while she doesn't exactly have like the greatest game plan with her striking, it's often to get to the takedowns. And once she gets her opponent on the ground, that is where she absolutely does her best work. Blanchfield, very good on the ground, good wrestling, good submissions. And that, of course, is McCann's biggest weakness, is her ground game. I have a hard time, other than unless McCann does manage to just overwhelm Blanchfield. Outside of that, I really have a hard time seeing Blanchfield losing to McCann. She's just more well-rounded. Her strengths play right into McCann's weaknesses, or McCann's weaknesses, rather, play right into Blanchfield's strengths. Blanchfield's not just going to stay on the feet and let McCann overwhelm her. She is going to test takedown defense and her ground game. For me, the pick here is Blanchfield by submission. It will be interesting to see, though, because Blanchfield is she's a New Yorker. She's a local New Yorker. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of pop she gets from the crowd for this fight. So we move on to the co-main event, Strawweight Championship, and the one I think everybody is watching this video for. The champ, Carla Esparza, defending against the challenger, Zhang Weili. And it seems like, man, so many people already have this fight figured out in their head. And I'm just not so sure. I'm just not as sure about it as they are. I'm really not. I've never seen so many people count out a champion on a 6-fight win streak the way people are counting out Esparza. And I think Zahn, and honestly, I got to be honest, Zahn is starting to show some overconfidence based on recent interviews and questions and answers we've been getting in the press conferences lately. It'll be interesting to see. We won't know. We really won't know until Saturday night. But let's get into the fight and get into the stats. So the Cookie Monster coming in at 19-6. Magnum coming in at 22-3. Esparza riding a 6-fight win streak. Her last 3 wins include a split decision over Marina Rodriguez, a TKO over Yan Xiaonan, and then, of course, the split decision over Rose Namajunas 5 months ago that everyone would rather forget. Magnum coming in off of a win over Joanna Jędrzejczyk via knockout 4 months ago. Before that, she had lost 2 straight to Rose Namajunas. Zahn is the younger fighter, 33-35 for Esparza. Both fighters are getting up there and have a lot of experience. Zahn will be the taller fighter at 5 feet 4 inches, 163 centimeters to 5'1", 155 centimeters for Esparza. The reach is identical, 63 inches, 160 centimeters. So like I was saying earlier, I think this one is a lot closer than people are giving credit for. I think everyone just goes in there, or everyone is thinking Zahn's just going to go in there absolutely just blitz through Esparza like nothing. And I agree that that's certainly a possibility. Whether or not that happens, I'm not entirely sure. It's a possibility, but I'm not so sure that that's exactly what happens. I think people just really love to underestimate Esparza. I mean, she's a tough fighter. Her only stoppages come against... Let me look up her record here. Her only stoppages come against Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Tatiana Suarez. Now, Jędrzejczyk came via volume striking, and Suarez came via ground and pound over 3 rounds of attrition, and it took Suarez well into the final 30 seconds for Suarez to put Esparza away, which just shows how tough Esparza is. Now, does Zahn have one strike knockout power? Somewhat. I mean, she has that spinning back elbow against to Joanna. But when was the last time she legit one punch knocked out someone besides that? Andrade? No. Maria Santos? I'd have to go look up that fight, but that seems like that was a TKO. It's been a long time since she really, other than Joanna, that she just genuinely got a one-punch KO against someone. Or a single strike KO. And I realize that a lot of people, for everybody in this sport, you're only as good as your last fight. Zhan's last fight was an amazing performance against Joanna, and Namajunas' was a horrible fight, barely a fight against Namajunas. So I get where people are coming from. The hype is going to come with the fighter that had a better performance. But Zhan also does have 2 recent losses, and I think people completely forget that. I've been in I like both of these fighters. Either one would be good for the division. Honestly, I think if we're going to go by who would be the better for the division, I think Esparza. There's a lot more options if Esparza wins. Whereas if Zhan wins, she has those 2 recent losses to Rose. Rose is only 1 win away, maybe, at most, from getting another shot at the title then. And then we see that fight again for the 3rd time when we've already seen it twice. Like I said, I like both of these fighters. A lot of people think I don't like Zhan. I like her as a fighter. The only time I wasn't happy with her was with the excuse making after the first Rose fight. Rose turned the crowd against me. The booing distracted me. I don't want to hear about that kind of stuff. I don't like excuse making from fighters I don't like. I don't like it from fighters I like. But other than that, I like Zhan. I will never not tune in for a Zhan Weili fight. But she has these weirdo, obsessed fanboys that seem to think that the slightest bit of criticism is like the worst thing imaginable. So I like both fighters. As a fan, I want to see Esparza win. As a fan, I'm cheering for Esparza. I just like, she's just had this like years-long comeback story. And for her to come in constantly as an underdog and to scrape by in fights where people were just absolutely counting her out, and then she comes out the winner, challenges for the title again after 8 years, and beating the champion and the same fighter that she beat for the first title, for the inaugural title back in 2014, and seeing her win the title again, that was just amazing. And I think to see her come in against this fighter that everybody is counting her out against, that would just be, I think if she were to beat Zhan, no matter how it were to happen, outside of a freak injury to Zhan that would cause the fight to end early, I think there'd be no way for Esparza to not gain some respect from fans, to finally gain some respect from fans if she were to win this bout no matter what. Zhan already has fan adoration and love, and it's well-deserved. But as a fan of both fighters, I'd really like to see Esparza get some of that shine. But I do lean towards Zhan winning. She just has more ways to win. She can stop the fight early. She can win the decision. Esparza tends to fade a little bit in fights. Zhan, we've seen her go hard for 5 rounds. It just tends to favor Zhan more. So I'm cheering for Esparza, but as far as my actual pick, well, then I got to lean towards the challenger, Weili Zhan. But either way, I think this is going to be good. I will say, though, one final note. For everybody that doubts Esparza and thinks that Zhan's just going to go in there and steamroll her, every round that Esparza makes it out just makes them look that much worse. And just shows how much people are counting her out. So if Esparza makes it to a decision, man, it's not only going to make her look good, it's going to make everybody counting her out look really foolish. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this. UFC 281 goes down tomorrow night on ESPN Plus pay-per-view if you're in the US, but otherwise check your local listings. UFC.com probably should be able to tell you. how to watch the fights wherever you are. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below. If you like the video, please hit that thumbs up and share it as well. Help spread the word. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to WMMA Now, the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.